I don't know who pitched the idea, if it was Steven Soderbergh's or somebody. Clearly, they just wanted to make an Ocean's movie with rednecks. Like that literally was it had to be the pitch, because that's essentially what it was, the style and everything. We're talking about Logan Lucky.
I think they just wanted to make a movie where they could plug in the John Denver song.
That was everything.
Take me home, country roads.
You know, you might. I don't know. The fact that
because why else would the hell would you base any movie in West Virginia?
That's true.
That is the only reason that West Virginia existed in this movie.
I agree. That song, you're right. I mean, and it you have the setup at the beginning, and then you have like literally the big scene at the end with that particular song. It's like one of the centerpieces of the film is that song. But yeah, we're talking Logan Lucky here. Welcome to PulpMythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking Logan Lucky. The movie came out in 2017. I remember the trailers for it. It looking interesting to me. I didn't realize that Steven Soderbergh was doing it. I didn't know it was literally the Ocean's guy that was doing the movie, because it clearly, based off even the trailer, it's like, yeah, this is sort of a rip of that kind of film. But no, it's the actual guy that does those movies. So I saw it on Amazon Prime the other day and was like, shit, that's one of those movies I've been wanting to see, and you checked it out and was like, yeah, let's do it. So we did it. We're going to do our quick little spoiler-free part, and then we're going to jump full into the spoilers and what we thought about the movie. So did you like it? Did you not like it? Would you recommend it?
If you wanted to find out what happened to Joey after her and Dawson, and then her and I don't remember the other dude's name in the show. I just remember him from Mighty Ducks. Joshua Jackson. You want to find out what happened to Joey after she broke up with both of them? That's what this movie is about.
Yes, Katie Holmes is in
and Channing Tatum's just playing a grown-up Joshua Jackson.
Yeah.
And that's their love child. And then she ended up with what's his name from The Office, Pam's ex-husband.
Dude, that was a great. I didn't know he was in this, and
I didn't either.
He's great in it too. Roy, or I don't know the
Roy,
actor,
yep,
but Roy from The Office. David Denman. There you go. That's his real name. And he plays the character Moody Chapman, car dealer. So,
but without any Dawson's Creek references or Office references,
right before we go, you watched all of Dawson's Creek, didn't you? Or am I thinking of something else?
God, no.
Okay, no. I know somebody who loved Dawson's. What did you like? You like one of those shows. There it is. I knew it was one of those shows that I was like, what the fuck did you watch that?
It's funny because I'm watching that now on HBO Max. Like, it's got the whole thing streaming. And even when I watched it, the parts that are supposed to be super serious make me laugh. So the whole thing's like a comedy to me. So I don't know if it's supposed to be, but it makes me laugh.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know who was. I know somebody who liked Dawson's Creek, but whatever. Probably my dad. And he watched it. Yeah. So you liked it?
Yes, I did. I did enjoy it. Like I said, the country roads, like the opening sequence where and this isn't a spoiler because it happens in the first 30 seconds, when he's describing to his daughter, Channing Tatum is describing to his daughter about the background of that song. And immediately I started singing it. And I sang it throughout the whole movie. Anytime they said West Virginia, I started singing it. And then at the, throughout the movie, I was dying. And, listening to Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, do his super slow, like, country drawl. And then, James Bond's real name, Daniel Craig. listening to him, man, if for nothing else, watch it for the people doing the country accents. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I had a blast with it. If you're into the oceans, if you're into heist movies, it is a genre. This is fine. Check it out. I had a few little issues with it, but nothing that would hurt my recommendation, and we'll discuss that here in a minute. But yeah, definitely check out Logan Lucky if you're into the oceans films, because like I said, it is Steven Soderbergh, so it's that style of movie.
Exactly.
So yeah, now spoilers from now on. Here we go. So yeah, it is a heist movie, and as opposed to stealing from a bank or stealing from a casino, they're stealing from NASCAR. So
the most hillbilly heist of all time.
Now, I want to know, I didn't do any research. In the film, they have you have the, it's in North Carolina.
Yeah, the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
And they have this tube system for collecting cash that leads to this one room. It pours the cash. I want to know if that was real. Like, is that a real system like that? And not just that, but in any kind of stadium. I don't know.
I'd imagine that there probably used to be, more so than now, because, I mean, me and you have been to different sporting events. We've been to arenas to, watch concerts and stuff too. But when you go buy food from any of those places, I don't see a single person using cash. I mean, I'm sure they still accept it because it's, money in their pockets. But, it being a heist movie and the amount of cash that they were able to get out of this, I don't think would be possible, because people don't carry that kind of cash around with them anymore.
Yeah, I just was the system that they had. I was like, wow, that's wild.
Yeah, the mnemonic or pneumatic, I think.
Yeah, it's like they use the air to launch the tubes full of money into a bin, essentially. They have a series of tubes that run underneath ground that transports the money. I mean, banks obviously use systems like that, but I just didn't know. I think there's some buildings that will use systems like that to move mail back and forth.
I imagine that it would be, I mean, obviously it's a heist and they showed that it wasn't completely safe or whatever bullshit, but I think that, thinking about it from a safety standpoint, minus, a group of hillbillies creating a way to rob you, it would be much safer, because you think of people trying to run money from one of the Coca-Cola stands down to the vault, which would be like, on the opposite side of this racetrack. Those racetracks are huge. So if you're up in one of the grandstands on one side, if the vault's on the opposite side, I imagine running a couple $1,000s worth of stuff would be dangerous. And they showed in the movie that those places have their own, not just security, but like police force. They have their own police. So although it would be safer because of that, I imagine that you still run the risk of someone getting robbed.
Yeah. And I know, like, even take like Disney, like you said, Disney World has, I wonder if they would have a system like this. They
I imagine shit.
Yeah. How do they move their money? I don't know if anybody knows, and it's not illegal to type it in the comments. Put it in the comments.
If you work at Disney and want to hook us up with some tickets,
yeah,
I'm down.
So, as we've been saying, the movie is about a heist. They're going to rob NASCAR, but it's also, the secondary plot is a father-daughter story. It's about Jimmy Logan and his daughter Sadie Logan, and basically, him wanting to be there for her, provide for her. She's going to do this recital, or I don't know, some kind of competition, be Miss West Virginia, and that runs throughout the entire film. And like we talked about, it has this big moment at the end where she's singing, "Take Me Home." But you have daughters, and did you like the way that played out throughout the film, or I don't know, how did you feel about that whole plot line?
Well, my situation is a little different, just because, my relationship with my kids, I see my kids all the time. So for him to be that fly-by-night father, kind of irritated. That's the only part that irritated me, actually. But the time that he was spending with her, he made the best of it. So I don't think that he was a bad father or anything. I think that he was trying to do the best he could. But clearly the jobs he was working were trying to help, trying to get money. He was trying to make the best of the time he could with her. So I commend him for that. But I think a lot of times that is an excuse. Like, it's just like, well, I can see her 2 weekends from now and spend some time with them. And I'm like, that's an absentee father. And that irritated me, but not enough to turn it off. Like, I focused on the other part of the plot as opposed to that.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was okay for what they were doing. I think there's a few issues I have with the movie. I mentioned that earlier, and this plot line, it was a tiny bit part of that, more so because there were certain threads in the story that didn't feel completely realized. I think there needed to be a little more. I think that particular storyline, maybe there needed to be a little bit more. And I'll go ahead and jump into the other two right now. There's a doctor that's introduced, or a nurse, I don't know if a medical professional that's introduced in the movie at one point. And it's a nice little scene, but it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't. Yes, it sets up a potential romance literally in the final scene, but literally, what was the point of that character in that scene?
Well, I think that fast forward to the end, and I won't spoil any of those parts yet, so we can keep it in order a little bit. Yeah. But it's almost like they set it up for another, like the Ocean's movie, like a trilogy.
Like a sequel. Yeah.
Yeah, like if it would have done well, they would have continued, so she might have been a part of the next crew or whatever. I think that it had this done better in theaters, they probably would have made a second one. But I liked it personally. I like the acting chops of the people in the Ocean's movies, but this one to me was funnier. Like, I enjoyed it almost more so than the Ocean's movies. I think that, given that they didn't know whether or not there's going to be a second one, they could have left parts out at the end there to, not keep you grasping at straws.
Another character, now this bothered me legit. This was the only thing that, like, truly I just didn't understand. It's Sebastian Stan, or Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, appears in the movie. He doesn't appear until literally halfway, maybe even further in than halfway into the film. He's one of the race car drivers at the speedway that they're robbing, and his name, Dayton White, that's the character's name. He's introduced in the film. There's a whole video package. It's all done in the style of the Ocean's movie, the way they're, the way they shot it and everything. We're introduced to this character. I was assuming that he had some kind of importance to the overall plot. I thought of maybe he's involved in the heist, but no, he isn't. And there's literally, outside of one scene at the very end, which they don't even show you what happens, there was zero reason for this character to even be in the movie. Like, in other words, if you went in and you cut out every scene that he was in, it wouldn't affect the movie one bit. It stuck out to me, especially by the time we got to the end of the film. I was just like, what the hell was the point of that character? I don't know. How did you feel about that?
I didn't dislike it, only because there's certain aspects of it that were just setting up alibis. Like at the end of the movie when...
Yes.
So I think that was his main
That's
point.
a lot of shit to set up one little alibi. I mean, I know what you're saying, but...
I'm just saying that and just like the other characters, like the doctor, Hilary Swank's character, I think that all these characters, even him, he would probably in the second movie help with the heist, be like a getaway driver or something. But because there was no payoff at the end, I think that that's the reason. Because remember in the Oceans movie, they kept adding people to their group.
Yes.
As the movies went on. So I think that's what it was doing, was adding the seeds of other people being a part of their, their crew. But since there's not, well, there might be a second one, I don't know. But as of right now, I don't think that there will be. And I think that that's what they were going for.
Okay.
At least that's what I was thinking while I was watching it.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't disagree with that. Very well, a lot of those characters that they really didn't do much with could be all set up. For instance, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but there's one of the prisoners who gets out and is compensated for his role in the heist. That's a character that could possibly, you know what I mean? You didn't need to have that scene unless you were setting up.
Well, and that's my point, is that because there were several other prisoners that helped. He was the main one. He kind of orchestrated. Mm-hmm. But why even show that scene if you weren't trying to set it up for future movies? Because there's no point. Like, it's...
Yeah. So let's get into the crew, the heist crew. There are 6 main characters that's part of that crew, and we will discuss each of them individually. Jimmy Logan, played by Channing Tatum. Like we said, he's like a minor. He used to be a football. I guess in high school he was a big football player. At college, he was going to be a big deal, but he messed up his knee, so it destroyed his football career. And now he just digs underground, basically.
Which to me made me laugh so hard, because that's probably the reason they included West Virginia, because West Virginia is a big...
Yes. Well, you needed someone, that had that ability or that know-how, or to have that knowledge of underground stuff. Like I said, he had the whole subplot with his daughter. He has sort of a romance set up with a character that, like I said, didn't really have a payoff. We know that him and Katie Holmes were in a relationship. It obviously fell apart. She's remarried. So we get all this information about him, and then, of course, in the end, we do... I'll save that. But what did you think of Channing Tatum? It looks like he put on a few pounds. He's definitely not in his Magic Mike shape for this role.
Looking at it, I think it was shirts. I think they were just baggier. I don't think... Right. Yeah. Because he just had some scraggly facial hair, which made his face look a little fuller. But, like, his shoulders and chest, normally when you put on weight, you get, not moobs, but, like, you gain weight everywhere in your torso, not just your stomach. So for him to have a little stomach, I think it was just the shirts. Because there were scenes where he's kind of walking and he would go back to his normal posture and he would look thinner. But then throughout the movie, he kind of had the, like, slumped forward and stuff like that, which, having a shitty posture makes you look fatter. So I think that was part of the character, but I don't think that he really put on too much weight. I mean, he wasn't in Magic Mike shape. I'm sure he didn't have a 6-pack, but I doubt he was chunky by any means.
We have Jimmy Logan's brother, Clyde Logan, played by Kylo Ren, or Adam Driver. He's a bartender. He lost his arm in, I think they said Iraq. He was in the military.
Yeah.
Interesting character. He was wearing a sweet-ass Bob Seger shirt. I want to point that out. Like you said, he had to do the whole country, talk a little slow. He was doing that whole shtick.
I was dying.
Yeah, it was funny. I thought him and Channing Tatum played well together.
Oh, so do I. I think that all the dialogue pieces, them playing off of each other, kind of going back and forth a little bit. I think they played great together. And, at the very beginning when they were talking about the Logan curse, even the banter back and forth. Sometimes I'd like to see the deleted scenes for stuff like that, where they kind of either slip up or don't talk in their accent for a second, because obviously it was edited and that was the final cut, but them going back and forth, both talking in voices that I've never heard them talking before, was pretty hysterical.
Then we have Millie Logan, sister, played by Riley. I can't pronounce the last name. I'm not going to try. Keogh, maybe Keough. I guess I did try.
Kylie Minogue.
It's not. But she is works in a beauty salon, and she's part of the heist, part of the crew. She does a lot of the background stuff that you don't really know she's doing until the reveal at the end of the film. And not a whole lot of dialogue. I guess that was on purpose. She has like one sort of monologue early on, and then she really doesn't talk a whole lot throughout the film. Okay, a little underdeveloped. You could have given her maybe a couple more scenes, I think, but decent for. I liked her whole banter with Roy from The Office. There was running gag that went throughout the film about him not being able to. He's a car dealer, but he doesn't know how to drive stick.
Well, and that was setting up even from the beginning her being the driver in the heist.
Yeah.
Which I think that they could have accentuated that a little bit, because there was no like real getaway. She was just driving really fast. Like there's no point where she had to like outrun a cop or, drive, through a city where she had to get away. It was just known that she was really, really good driver and she could drive really fast. But once again, I think that all of those kind of things are setting up for a second one. Like they were trying to plant seeds of the characters, but not necessarily develop them all that much in this one.
Then we have the Bang brothers, who were the highlight for me.
Yes.
The whole movie. They steal the show. Daniel Craig plays Joe Bang. We have Jack Quaid playing Fish Bang, and Jack Quaid as Huey from The Boys, but he has long hair in this. And then we have Brian Gleason playing Sam Bang. They need
That's who it was.
Well,
the Sam. Like I couldn't figure out who it was. That's makes more sense now.
The Daniel Craig. So the Logans need Daniel Craig because he's supposedly like a bomb expert, and he has, he's in jail or in prison, and they need his expertise to get access to the money. So they come up with this elaborate plan in which they're going to break him out of prison, do the heist, and then get him back into prison because he's only got 5 months left on his term. So obviously he doesn't want to break out of prison with 5 months left and, be hunted by the law. So that's one of the big pieces of the heist is that, yes, it's important to get the money, but the other aspect of it is making sure he gets in and out of prison without getting in trouble. And I thought that was an interesting twist on the heist, how to do a heist, that you have this other time-sensitive thing going on at the same time.
Yeah, that was one of the things I enjoyed the most, because it wasn't like, let's break them out and then, they're convicts for the rest of the time and they're trying to get. I love the fact that they had to break them out and get them back in unseen.
Yeah.
That to me was a good little twist, that the person you needed was locked up, but they weren't willing to do the crime when they got out in a couple months. So they're just like, no, we can get you back in.
Some of the other cast members, which I've already mentioned a few of them, but you had Katie Holmes. Like I said, she was Channing Tatum's ex. She plays Bobby Joe Chapman. Yes, that is the character's name. And then David Denman, who plays Moody Chapman, like I said, Roy from The Office. Then you had Seth MacFarlane wearing a horrible fake mustache, and he plays a character, Max. And basically, he works with Sebastian Stan, the race car driver, and he's just an asshole. There's a whole scene where yet again, you don't even really need that character, but he comes to the bar where Clyde works. He's being an asshole. They end up having a big brawl, and then they blow up his car or his van. And then it does have a scene at the end of the film where he sees them and he's sort of a witness. But I don't know. I thought he was fine in it. I think he was overacting a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of Seth MacFarlane's
No, I'm not
acting.
either.
I think if I had to say anyone in the movie did a poor job as far as the performance, I would say it was Seth MacFarlane.
I'm
I
not.
don't know. It stuck out a little bit as far as the way he was hamming it up a little.
Well, I'm not a fan of his anyway. Not any of his. I'm not a big Family Guy fan. You know, American Dad. Like I'm not a huge fan. Or even what was it, that show Dads he produced or whatever, the live action one with Seth Green and Giovanna Ribisi and stuff. I think that he was an executive producer on that. Didn't go very long because it was garbage. But I'm not a huge fan of his at all. But to me, that once again, that character was the, I guess, antagonist.
Yeah.
Although,
yes.
Because otherwise, once you get to the end, who's going to catch them? Would it be the security? Like, you have to have a main antagonist focus. Now, I think it would have been better to have it be somebody else. Like, them introducing him at the beginning, kind of, I think, tie them into the NASCAR world part. So I was okay with that. But to me, you could have had it be anyone else at the end. I don't think that I didn't like his character, but I don't like him. So I don't.
So yeah. I just, it stuck out a little bit. I didn't bitch about it earlier in the review just because he's not in it that much. So it's really,
Yeah, he didn't ruin it.
No, he's only in literally like 3 scenes. So yeah, and then the other one of the other extra characters is Dwight Yoakam, who I love, playing the warden, Warden Burns of the prison. A lot of funny comedy lines. I'm going to go ahead and jump into one of them right now. We're going to talk about the prison stuff in a minute, but there's a whole scene. I mean, an entire 3-minute scene about Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And it's so funny, and it sticks out. And it's, literally the prisoners want the new Game of Thrones books, and he's trying to explain to them that they're not out yet, and they're calling bullshit, and they're confused as to why some of the new prisoners know what happens later in the books, and he's explaining that the show has passed the books. The whole sequence I just loved it. I thought it was funny.
I was dying because I avidly read the books. I watched the show. We did reviews of the last season and stuff. We did reviews of all the seasons, but like the last season, we talked about it. I didn't care for how they rushed it a little bit, but it just the back and forth of those guys who have been in there for a little while saying that they wanted the new books. It was funny. And like you said, when they were just like, well, the TV show surpassed, and he's like, bullshit. Like he's trying to hold out on him. He's like, Joe, what was it? Something about how R.R. Martin has a rigorous promotion schedule that has kept him from.
He's like, I'm on the wiki page.
I'm just reading you what's from the wiki page.
Like Dwight Yoakam, he's an interesting guy. I'll talk about him for 1 second. He's a country singer. That's his bread and butter. That's what he's known for. And I like his style. It's an old school, very that 80s style of country music, which I enjoy sometimes. I'm more of a hard rock metal guy, but I can get into that. And I like synthwave, which people make fun of.
In Chicago.
I do like Chicago. Like a lot of stuff. Musically. But Dwight Yoakam, like, who would have thought he's not only funny, but he's a good actor. He Sling Blades. A lot of people know him from that. Great performance in that. And then, like in this, he's just sort of funny. He's a comic relief type character. I don't know. I just think it's interesting when you take a musician or, someone that, even athletes, there's certain athletes, and you put them in the acting world, and it's like, damn, they're really good at that too. And he's an example of that, I think.
Well, yeah, because he's also been in a bunch of movies where he played a very serious role.
Yes,
I think that he's just a good actor, which is odd because that wasn't his first. It might have been his first love. I don't know him as a kid, so. But to know that he had such a successful country music career, and then has been a great actor also. To me, that's just a good nod to him. I think he's a really good actor. I enjoy anything he's in. I didn't recognize him at first though. Like it took me a minute. Like
so the prison break. So there's two, like I said earlier, there's two parts to this heist. There's the prison break aspect, and then there's the heist itself. Surprisingly, the actual heist, the events of stealing the money, is pretty straightforward, simple, and they don't really run into too many issues. Outside of a gate not opening and a couple security guards looking for him, which that's it. The bulk of the stress or the conflict comes from the prison aspect of it, which I thought was interesting. Like I said, I thought it was an interesting twist on it. But the heist itself, it's literally them putting a bomb in one of the tubes, blowing it open, and then sucking the money out into trash bags, and then getting the trash bags out. That's it. That's the whole thing. And Daniel Craig, being the explosive expert, he creates an explosive using, was it bleach and gummy bears?
yes.
Yes. And that whole sequence is amazing. Funny, comedy. Love that whole sequence. I would that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Oh, by far. Because he puts it in the little pneumatic tube chute. It goes down and nothing. So they're like, what the hell? So it returns back and he's like, oh, I took too much air out the bag.
Yeah.
So he twisted it too tight, so he untwists it a little bit and then re-puts it in there and then launches it. So the whole sequence, he's this bomb expert, but not really. Clearly he knew what he was doing, but it's just funny that he fucked up first.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was interesting too. He did the whole breakdown of the chemical components and stuff, and he wrote it in chalk on the wall.
Yeah.
It's science.
The prison. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. Daniel Craig, he was in that Knives Out, and he did a very similar kind of country music, or not country music, country accent in that movie as well. But it was completely different. Like the one in that, it was more New Orleans. He was real slow. This, he didn't speak as slowly. He was more of a hillbilly country, and it was very comical.
I would love for them to do another Ocean's movie, and because you could arguably say this is in the same universe as the Ocean's films. You know what I mean? It would
crossover.
Yeah, you could. And just have Joe Bang go join up with some of those characters. I don't know. You could. I mean, it's definitely possible. If I was going to pull one of the characters, it would be him. So the prison side of things,
I think he would probably tie in the best. He's a good actor, and it'd be funny.
Yeah. The prison side of things, you have Clyde has to crash his car into a gas station so that he can get a minimal sentence, which is, I think, 3 months. I think it was something like that. And then he gets in there with Joe Bang, and then they do the whole plot to escape the prison. And it involves Joe Bang drinking the water from the prison, which is toxic, makes you vomit, sick, getting him into the infirmary, and then causing a riot in the prison, which locks it down all day, giving them the chance to leave and then come back in as firefighters when the rioters light a fire, a little tiny fire. And all the prison stuff, like I said, is some of the highlights of the movie.
Well, I think so too, because even the lighting the fire was another alibi. It was all of these things that they kept, which you don't find out until the end. All the things that they were basically doing was to set up an alibi for everybody. And I thought that was brilliant. And it was also a way to get them back into the prison, was the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were watching the whole NASCAR clock the whole time, so they knew when to do all these things.
Once they get back into the prison and we get to the end sequence, we have Channing Tatum being at the, like we've been talking about, the, Take Me Home Country Road song. So his daughter ends up doing that song instead of the Rihanna's Umbrella, because her dad made it to the show, and she knows he enjoys the song. So it's a nice little father-daughter thing. And then he gives the money back. He leaves the truck full of money in a parking lot, and it's taken. And then we go. And what was crazy, when this happened, I checked the time and realized it was still like 25 minutes left on the movie. And I was like, what the hell? And then we get introduced to another character, and we go through a whole sequence of events. Hilary Swank comes in as Special Agent Sarah Grayson, and she's investigating the heist and what happened and why was the money returned and who was involved. And we end up with about 20 or so minutes of just her investigating, basically. And
after I saw that, I wasn't sure how much time was left, because when she showed up, I wasn't thinking that Seth McBullshit was going to be the antagonist. I thought it was going to be her. I thought Hilary Swank was going to end up being the one trying to crack the case the whole time, kind of like the casino owner and the Ocean's movie. I figured that's what her role was going to be. But then I checked the time. I'm like, there's no time left. So I think, like I said, that was them setting up the next in the series, because, it would have been her trying to find them while they're planning something else. But
because, she ends up, they end up wrapping up the case because NASCAR basically has insurance. And so there's a settlement, and they get a large sum of money. And so they're happy with the amount of money they get from the insurance. And she points out, we never really had a record of how much money you actually lost. And the NASCAR guys are basically like, yeah, well, we don't want you digging into that. We're happy with our settlement. Move on. And that pisses her off. And she figures it all out early. Like, pretty quickly, she figures out the heist, how it went down. Is it ridiculous as it is? And, she's talking with the warden and everything, but she can't prove anything. And that's sort of what stops her from being able to. She can't prove it, and NASCAR doesn't want her to proceed. So that
that's the thing too. You look at any insurance claim. So, if I have roof damage at my house, if I call State Farm or Farm Bureau or whoever, there's shit tons of homeowners insurance. But if I contact them and I contact a contractor, that contractor's going to be like, oh, yeah, you need a whole new roof. You need new gutters. You need new windows. I'm like, motherfucker, I just have 2 shingles missing. But they're trying to get all their money from the insurance. So just like NASCAR, they probably claim that they lost so much money because there's no way to really tell. And, even receipts and everything else, how many millions of receipts would they have to go through? Because you think of, if there's 50,000 people at one of those races, each person buys 1 or 2 things because, they're drinking and they're there for 4 hours. Shit. And the amount of money that they had, they probably did get away with a fuck ton of money. However, you look at that kind of, how would you comb through all that shit? And that's why when he was the insurance adjuster said that they went through it and we're good to go. So they didn't give a shit. They're just like, yep, okay.
The big reveal at the end is that the Logans were well aware that it would be stupid to the way they were pulling off the heist. Too many, I don't know how to say it. Basically, they didn't want to lead the FBI to them, so they knew they couldn't spend the money. Giving the money back would be better, even though they didn't give it all back. And basically sitting on it for an extended period of time. And so that's what they did. They cut the money in half, kept half of it, gave back half of it, and then didn't spend it for, I think it was 6-7 months passed.
Yeah, because they waited. Remember, Joe still had 5 months before he got out.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any of the money until at least he got out. So.
And so they basically were sitting on it and not spending. If you go back and watch like Goodfellas when they pull off their big heist and how pissed off De Niro when everybody's spending money because he's like, I told the cops are watching us. You're buying cars and fur coats and everything. And he's all pissed off. So it's basically that whole thing where they realize, yeah, we got to sit on the money. Be careful. Channing Tatum starts working at Lowe's. Was it Lowe's? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're doing. Clyde's still working at the bar. They're living life normal. They're not spending all the money crazy, and then we get the reveal at the end that even though the case is apparently over, Hilary Swank is still privately investigating because she's at the bar at the end. And like you said earlier, a lot of this stuff seems to be setting up a sequel that never was.
Well, the Ocean movies were pretty spread out. Like, they didn't do one back to back, but I haven't heard anything announced either.
No.
So, like I said, it'd be different if they were like, yeah, 3 years, in 2022, we're doing a Logan Lucky sequel. I would be like, oh, okay. Or even Ocean's Lucky or whatever. I don't know.
That should be what it's called. Ocean's Lucky.
Like they go out to, like, out the West Coast or something.
Real quick, what would be something if you were going to take some of the characters from the Ocean's franchise and pull a couple, maybe Joe Bang or maybe a couple of Logans? What should they steal? Like, what would you make it be?
What would be the second thing that they stole?
Yeah, like what would be worthy of that team up? Like, okay, we've done casinos. They're doing NASCAR. Like, I don't know.
I think what would be funniest would be them stealing some kind of famous art, because you got a bunch of hillbillies that don't know shit about art, and then a bunch of people who are rich and kind of pompous because they rob casinos and shit. I think that would be the funniest. Them robbing like the Guggenheim or some shit like that.
Yeah. That could work. But yeah, that was roughly that was the movie. It was about 2 hours long, and yeah, that was it. You have any other thoughts?
I do, but you can keep talking for a second. I'm peeing.
Don't fall.
Here, I'll just unmute it so you can hear it.
Oh, that's great.
I feel like Austin Powers. Evacuation complete. But I did like the end when they did show the whole sequence of how they did it. Him putting the magnet over the chain so that they couldn't escape yet. He delayed them so that way they had more time to get the rest of the money out. The fact that they showed Millie was pretending to be an employee also, trying to, all the extra steps that they took that weren't revealed until the very end, I thought was genius. I liked how they incorporated that. And then whoever the guy was that was smoking, I don't even know who that was.
Yeah, they didn't even.
It was just like their friend or something that basically had nothing to do with anything, but he was, making it to where he's like, oh yeah, my bad. He was delaying everything. So even the arm wasn't really lost. It was stuck in the thing. He knew exactly where it was. Everything that they were doing was calculated, which I loved. I love the cockroaches, how they figured out which
yeah, I didn't bring that up. Yeah,
everything that they did was very calculated, and you didn't find out how calculated that was until the very end. And I did like that they kind of showed you how everything worked out. Like I said, I would like to see a second one. I was Googling it here a few minutes ago before I was peeing, about whether or not there'd be a second one. And they said, although Soderbergh he was saying that there's not plans to, he said he wouldn't be opposed to doing a second one. And Channing Tatum said the same thing. So if for whatever reason any of those guys got a hair up their ass about making a second one, they are all down for it.
Yeah, I would. Like I said, I think that you could easily argue that these films all take place in the same universe, and you could have crossovers. Like, there's nothing that would prevent that, I don't think. And that's what
I'm
I
telling you, man. Them robbing the Smithsonian, and then you can bring in Ben Stiller as like the night guard, and then
But yeah, that's the movie. Logan Lucky. I didn't bring up the bad luck thing because they talk about it several times in the movie, and the Hillary Swank scene sort of enforces the idea that they do have bad luck. But yeah, that's a running theme, is that the Logans have bad luck.
I think it was just a shtick.
Yeah, it was.
To me, it was funny, but it didn't matter.
That's why I didn't even write it in my notes. But there you go. I mean, and that's why it's called Logan Lucky. But
because they finally got lucky.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the movie. Hope you enjoyed the review and the little bonus Spencer urinating. It's a little bonus for you. Enjoy that.
We're trying to reach out to everybody. ASMR, pee fetish people. I don't know.
Into that. So you got a little bit of everything. So yeah, if you I should have said it up front, but it's too late now. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And if you are still listening at this point in the video, give us a little comment about the Spencer peeing. It's fun. And all right, I think that's about it. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.